Hello everyone, today's going to be a different kind of video. There's not going to be an album review in sight, because today we're reviewing apps. So I'm not going to be doing an album review today, I'm going to be doing an app review between Google Play Music and YouTube Music. Because if you haven't realized, Google Play Music is going away, and that has been the app I've been using for the past 3 years to listen to all the music I've been listening to. So I thought it would be a good time to share my experience with the apps and the transition, and maybe take a look at the other streaming services out here. First off, I want to mention that I'm not going to be talking about the radio stations on these streaming services. I don't use them because I know what I want to listen to, so I'm going to listen to what I want to listen to. Got it? Anyways, so transitioning from Google Play Music to YouTube Music was quite easy with Google's big easy button that you just get to press. And for me, it took 2 to 3 hours to transfer my whole library and uploads over to YouTube Music, not even having to touch or sign, click check marks to go to YouTube Music. Now I'm on YouTube Music. I did notice after a couple of months listening on YouTube Music that there was about 4 albums that did not transfer over to my YouTube Music library, and that was the Illy's discography and Midair Thief's Crumbling. So that's 4 out of 936. That's good. The big differences between the two platforms is the interface. Google Play Music had a big visual aspect to it, showing the album covers as you scroll through your library and search for other albums. YouTube Music has a list of the albums in your library as you scroll through them. So you get to see more, but it's not a big visual to identify the different albums while you scroll through your library. So it's not as fun to look at, and for me, being a visual person, I want big album covers. I like big. One of the features that I've noticed in YouTube Music that I don't like is the separation of the library and the uploads. In Google Play Music, it was all in one place, so when you search for it, it brings up both of those in the same search. While in YouTube Music, you now have to tab in between the YouTube Music library and your own uploads, which really sucks because when I search for albums, they don't show up, and I'm not going to remember to tap uploads to look for it. And honestly, I listen to too much shit to keep track. But YouTube Music did add some great features that I really enjoy. One of them is a lyrics tab, so when you're listening to the song, you get to read the lyrics as you're listening, which is great. Even though it's not always there for all the songs out there, when it's there, I love it. YouTube Music has also added music videos to the streaming service. There's just an easy button you switch over to, and now you're watching the music video as right where you left off from that song, which is great if you want to show the music video around. I usually don't use it too much, but it's nice to have. Also, a thing to note about YouTube Music is it does have a separate history from YouTube. So as you're on YouTube, the music videos are not going to start showing up in your history on YouTube Music. They're completely separate, which is great when you're using the same Google account. One of my favorite features that YouTube Music has added is the ability to add YouTube videos into your queue. So let's say you want to listen to Boredom's Super AE, but you don't have a digital copy of it, and it's not in YouTube Music's library, but it is on YouTube, and then you get to add that to your queue, and it's great, because now I get to listen to that. Amazing. As I've been using YouTube Music for about 4 months now, I did notice they have made a couple of changes. In your library, you now get to sort it by the most recent uploads, and then you get to sort it alphabetical and backwards alphabetical. And you can also have better embeds, so when you want to tweet out using the share feature on YouTube Music, it works perfectly in Discord, Facebook, and all your other social media sites. So I do love a lot of the changes that YouTube Music has made, adding those new features that I was not really wanting from Google Play Music, which is great. But at the end of this year, I kind of wanted to look back at other streaming services, as I've been using Google's streaming service for the past 3 years, so let's take a look at some other ones. One of the big factors I have with streaming services is how much they pay the artists, because I think that's important to make sure the artists are well off so they could keep doing whatever they want. There is a great blog post that Soundcharts has about the different streaming services and their average payout to each of the artists per single stream. And I kind of want to go quickly into here with their calculations. With Amazon Music comes in at the top paying $0.019 per stream, while Rhapsody and Napster will pay a little over a cent per stream. Tidal barely makes a whole cent per stream. YouTube Music pays $0.008, while Apple Music and Google Play Music will pay half a cent per stream. Deezer pays $0.04 per stream, and Spotify pays $0.03 per stream. It's interesting to see Napster being higher up on this average payout per stream. So I decided to take a free month trial with it and give it a whirl. And it was cool to use. I did enjoy it quite a lot, at least it had the same features. The only things that I have a little bit complaints about is the album covers. They didn't have the album covers on the artists, they just have a placeholder image for a lot of albums, songs, and artists, which kind of sucks because then it looks really dull when you look at it. And the one thing I hate about using Napster is I didn't have my library of music. It's so kind of frustrating not having a history that is already backlogged like hell from my listening. So it's really hard to transfer over to a streaming service when I'm not going to have the same history or library like I do on Google Play Music and YouTube Music now. I think that's quite interesting how Spotify is one of the most popular streaming services but also pays out the less. The author in this article does go into details of how there's a lot more free users on Spotify that don't pay the same amount to the artists. So there's a lot more membership viewers like on Amazon Music and Rhapsody, where it is required to have a paid membership to use it. The pay per stream shouldn't be the end-all be-all factor of determining your favorite streaming service. There's too much music to listen to, use whatever you can get to. If you really want to pay the artist though, you should definitely check out Bandcamp. Bandcamp has been pulling so much weight getting small artists and bands music heard online and being able to support them with purchasing their physical or digital copies of their music, and they've waived the fees so much this year to help them out in these hard times. So shoutouts to them. And that's my thoughts on streaming services. Looks like I'll be sticking with YouTube Music. What's your favorite streaming service? Do you have your horror story of a streaming service, or do you love the streaming service you've been using forever? Did you also like this video? Can you like this video? Can you subscribe this video? Can you like my other videos too? Thank you, and see you at the end of the year list.